If there's one thing that I've learned over the past few years is that knee pain isn't always a knee problem. I spent years afraid that my knees were going to give out underneath me, and it kept me from doing a lot of things. And when I decided I was going to start lifting weights, I worked my way up to some decently heavy squats. And my legs got stronger, but my knees never really stopped hurting. And that was a problem. And most guys with knee pain spend way too much time training their quads, stretching their hamstrings, but no one ever told you that your knees are most likely not the problem. They're just the ones taking the hit because your ankles are locked up, because your hips are probably locked up. And if your ankles can't bend or your hips can't open, or even both, your knees become the shock absorbers for pretty much everything above and below them. And if you've been sitting for years, it makes it even worse because your tissues will turn to glue. They get stiff and they get sticky and completely unresponsive. You've probably tried stretching and strengthening your quads, your hamstrings, maybe doing some foam rolling, doing some squats, but nothing ever really works. These things might make you feel better for a minute or two, but then you're right back to where you started. And nothing is going to work long term until you open up that three-way communication between your hips, your knees, and your ankles. So we got to work that out. And today I have a kettlebell workout for you that you can do to open up your ankles, open up your hips, and finally give some relief to your knees because God knows they need it. Now, these kettlebell exercises aren't necessarily about building up strength in your quads and in your hamstrings. They will do that, but what we want to do is restore the knee's natural movement by taking some of that extra work off its plate and giving it back to the muscles that are supposed to be doing their jobs, the hips and the ankles. We're setting some boundaries today. So if your knees hurt when you squat or when you lunge, when you stand up out of your chair, or even if you walk downstairs, this routine will change how you move. And it's going to start remodeling the fascia because the fascia is the tissue that holds it all together. And sometimes it's the tissue that keeps everything bound up tight. The first thing we're going to do is load up the hips with a 1.5 rep deadlift. Now this is one of the simplest, if not the simplest exercise that there is. It's simple, it's fundamental, but that doesn't mean it's not effective. You want to start light here. What you want to do is set a kettlebell on the ground between your feet, then hinge at the hips, lower down, grab the kettlebell, and then stand up. Push your hips forward, squeeze your butt muscles, and then drop halfway down where your hands are basically in front of your knees, keeping your glutes engaged as much as you can, and then stand up tall. At the top, you want to push forward with your hips again by squeezing your glutes. Hold that for a short moment and then set the bell back down on the ground and then repeat the whole process again. Now that little pause in the middle of the rep is where you learn hip control. It's where you wake up your glutes and it's where your knees stop doing the job that belongs to your butt. Do 6 reps on this one and feel it. Next up is the goblet squat. Now this one's going to be a hold. Grab the kettlebell by the horns and hold it close to your chest. Bend your knees and drop your butt straight down and get low. We're not going for reps here. We're not going for speed. We want to focus on time spent in the bottom position. You're loading the springy system around your hips, your knees, and your ankles. All that connective tissue is a system that's designed to store energy, and we're charging that system here. You want to let gravity do the work and let your body figure out how to get comfortable in the bottom position. This is basic. This is the basicest of basic. Now you can get lower than you normally would if you use the kettlebell as a counterweight to keep you from falling over. If you feel yourself falling backwards, just press it out away from you as far as you need to feel balanced in that position. Try to get used to being down here because this is another fundamental position. It's what babies do naturally. Hold it for 20 seconds or so. Give it a little bouncy bounce at the bottom if you're feeling frisky. Next up is the Cossack squat. Now this one is a challenge for a lot of people at first, but you can build a lot of stability here, especially with the external rotation of the hips. It's basically a super deep side lunge that trains your hip rotation and your ankle dorsiflexion, which means pulling your toes towards your knees. So you want to start out with your feet about 1.5 shoulder width, step out wide, drop down on one side, and try to stay straight through your spine as much as you can and get as low as you can. Now on the side with a straight leg, put your heel on the ground and point your toe towards the sky. Pull your toes towards your knees. And if you can't get that low, it's not a problem. Just get as low as you can. Feel free to let your heel come off the ground a bit if you need to, or put a book or something under your heel for support. The goal right now isn't to get to the bottom of the squat. If you can, great. If not, eventually you'll be able to, but for now, try to get as low as you comfortably can and then try to get just a little bit deeper. Then stand up and repeat it on the other leg. What we're working towards here is to loosen up and increase the gliding tension through the fascia that rarely gets used, especially if you sit a lot. We don't often use the lateral plane. And this is going to open up those lateral lines of motion that you probably haven't touched in years. Again, use the kettlebell as a counterweight to allow you to get deeper. Just push it out a little bit if you need to keep yourself from falling over. We're gonna do 4 reps on each side and take your time with this one. Now for the next one is the reverse lunge. We're going to go one leg at a time to the rear instead of the side. You're gonna step back slow and let your knee barely touch the ground if you can, or just see how low you can get comfortably. Hover there for a second, then stand back up and step back into the starting position and then repeat with the other leg. You're gonna alternate sides with each rep. Again, use the kettlebell for balance, not for momentum. If you're wobbling a little bit, that's good. That means your nervous system is starting to remember how to distribute the load between your ankles, your knees, and your hips the way it's designed to be. This is relearning patterns that you've forgotten. It's good for the brain. We're gonna do 4 reps on each side. Next up is the heel glide. You're going to rebuild your brakes with this one. You don't need a kettlebell for this one, but you can if you want, especially if you need it to help balance. You can do this one anywhere, anytime. What you want to do is you want to stand on a level surface, then bend one knee while keeping the heel of the other foot hovering above the ground. Then you're going to pull your toes toward your knees, then lower your legs slowly while your heel stays floating above the ground. This is going to require you to drive your heel away from your body in order to keep it from touching the ground. You don't want your heel to touch the ground. Now notice where you feel it loosening up the most. Is it your hips? Is it your ankles? It's probably not your knees, because this is going to increase the range in your hips and your ankles and start to take the pressure off your knees. Now as you get stronger with this, you can start to do it on a step and lower your front heel to the step in front of you. This will increase the range of motion in your hips and your ankles even farther. Now this one's a lot more effective than it seems. Stick with it and you'll be glad you did. There you go. Give this sequence a shot. It's all you need to get started. And since you made it this far, why don't you go ahead and click like on this video? Now I feel like I need to mention that doing this routine once a day is not going to reverse years of stiffness if you spend the other 23 hours sitting in a chair. You got to get up and move more. You can use this as a mini workout sprinkled throughout your day. You don't always need a kettlebell with these. You can pretty much do them anywhere at pretty much any time. But real progress happens through micro movements, walking throughout the day and slowly regaining your movement capacity, even if you've got a little bit of pain. In fact, if walking hurts your knees right now, that's exactly why you need to do this. These exercises prep your tissues to make walking feel better, not worse. Do it daily with a kettlebell if you can, but shoot for at least 2 to 3 times per week with a kettlebell. Most of these exercises can be drilled throughout the day without a kettlebell, and you'll actually supercharge your progress this way. But most importantly, move more, move often, walk more, sit less, and subscribe.